The band is going to be called Dumb, D-U-M. We're so dumb we can't spell it, okay?
Okay.
And it really stands for drunk urinating masses, all right? Now, I wasn't going to tell anybody that, but being that we're doing a video, that's what it stands for, because we're counting on the beer song being the one that like really opens up a lot of doors for us. You know, beer is like the second biggest thing in America. There's love, there's beer, and there's football. I would consider this not a comeback so much because I'm kind of considering, I know it's going to break a lot of Good Rats hearts, or Good Rats fans' hearts. I'm kind of considering this, hopefully we're putting Good Rats finally to rest after 25, 28 years, however many years it's been, and start with this new thing called Dumb. And with all new songs and you know, a whole different, it's a whole different group, but it's still got a lot of that Good Rat harmony. You know, people are always going to be able to make the connection.
Yeah.
But the one thing I just didn't want to do is we're going to promote this beer song to the colleges, and I didn't want to hear the typical reaction is a kiddo at a college radio station or really anywhere in the music business will say, Good Rats, that was my father's favorite band or my Uncle Joe's favorite band, and right away you get dated. So what we want to do with the video is call it Dumb. I'm in the video, certain section, but you really can't tell I'm the singer in the band. And I'm going to try to fool everybody until they see this video. You know, because I think that America, you know, if they like what they hear, you know, later on you sell them what they're seeing. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I just don't want any preconceived baggage with this thing. But I think it's a great reaction that some kid who's got an opportunity to hear the old Rats and then compared to the new Rats, you know, it's not by accident that the new Rat sound is more current. It's younger guys. It's what's happening today more, you know. And I feel vindicated that we've been able to cross over generations. It's great, you know. We do that Rat Stock thing where people come in at the end of summer from all over, and they bring their kids, and the kids know the music, and you see two generations of families, you know, singing your songs. I think it's a great feeling. I don't know if a lot of other guys who've been in this business can have the same experience and feeling that I have when I see that happening. I mean, I get 9-year-old kids asking for Man on a Fish, which is a really sophisticated song.
That's right.
You know, and I'm like looking at the kid, I'm going, don't you mean you want Coo 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 or don't hate the ones who play rock and roll? No, I really like that Man on a Fish song. So it's a great feeling. There was an awards show a number of years ago at Hofstra University, and I was in the audience, and I think it was Jackie Martin said Peppi Marchello was supposed to be here, but he's at home working with his grandson, figuring out what the name of the next band is, because he was goofing on all the kids, you know. But look, the Good Rats were a family band, me and Mickey.
Yeah.
You know, hung out for years. We played together for years, and until we both realized, you know, that it couldn't go any further, because we started getting so mad at each other for silliest things, and we started saying, "Yeah, your mother and your mother," and then we realized, hey, we have the same mother.
That's right.
We got it. It's over, you know. Well, first of all, advertisement. About 20 years ago, advertisement and a couple other of my songs were actually taught as American literature at some colleges in Jersey, you know. So, and that's amazing to me because, I mean, I was good at math in school. I was the guy that was misspelling every word, and, you know, no way I thought I'd ever be anything of a writer. But with the beer song, I thought that possibly it was a little bit too heavy at one point lyrically, and it could be because it's depressing the lyric up front, you know, and I actually wrote an alternative, and it was like a hip hop thing going into that same chorus. It was very, very funny, but I decided, you know, and I was going to like do one of each and say, well, let them decide. Yeah. And then I just decided that no, you know, I'm going to go with my first feeling on this thing, you know, knock them down and then bring them up at the chorus, you know. If you notice on the video too, the old guys, they're just hanging there dead on the ball like this, and they just wake up for the drink up. You know, that's their life.
That's right.
You know, I hope, like your question was like, where do you want to be 2 years from now?
Yes.
I don't want to be one of those old guys with the ball with my head in the ball like that. I would like to be in a situation where I can say to people after all these years, you know, and all the people who have written nice things about me, about my music, and sticking with it, after all these years, all this hard work finally paid off, and we were able to do it in spite of all the skepticism from people in the industry, because this is a young man's industry. Right. These are all young kids now. If you're over 16, they start looking, I don't know about that, you know. Yeah. And it's always been an argument. I thought it was disgraceful because I was right in the middle of it myself, but I always said, like, The music should represent, nobody sits there and watches a movie and goes, I wonder how old the producer is or the guy that wrote it.
No.
You know? And I don't think anybody listens to music and says, I wonder how old this guy is. There's that minimal little audience that maybe does that. I think the majority of people who are into music let their ears tell them what's good and what's not good.
Right.
And that's what I want. I just want a fair and accurate representation
Of who you are.
of my vote. Oh, no, of what I've done, my body of work, and people to say, this is fun, intelligent music, and it's affecting some people. It can't affect everybody positively, but it's affecting a lot of people positively. And that's it. If there's some money that comes along with that, fine. But I'm not a greedy guy. If I can work, a couple of days a week and have an audience come out and enjoy my music and pay my bills, I'd be more than happy. I'd like them to call me a really great rock and roller. That's it. They want to call me a composer, fine.
Yeah.
But the guy that can write a good structured song and entertain people. Whether it's making them happy, it's like the songwriter song. It can make you laugh or cry. If I can get that emotion through from 3 minutes, it always amazes me. I mean, I only started out playing a little piano and writing some lyrics and melody, and to have that affect people so dramatically. And I look at it this way. If a guy with my talent, and I think I have a lot of talent, has gotten this far, compared to a lot of other musicians who haven't been able to make any kind of living at all, there's got to be guys with more talent than I have, more talent than Billy Joel has and Bruce Springsteen has, whatever, who never even got the shot I got, and that are sitting there going, gee, how come I never got that break? Everybody says we got a lot of bad breaks, but we got enough good breaks to establish ourselves to people who really care and to other musicians. It's like, these guys are the real thing. My father, he used to love, he loved that song. He liked the Berkman Stills whole album. He said it reminded him of Broadway, Ordinary Man and, A Man on a Fish. To me, Man on a Fish is just it touches me because it's what we're all going to be if we get lucky to be old enough to be old men, and then that feeling of terrible loneliness if you outlive your family. I always wanted Jimmy Durante or George Burns before he died. I thought it would have been so great if George Burns would have did Man on a Fish.
Yeah.
I was in a studio in Manhattan. It was like 4 in the morning. My wife called me up, and I was with Skylar Deal,
Sure.
bass player, right? Yeah, great. And so I was taking him home that night. So I had to take him home. My wife called and said, "Your dad just died." I was like, dying myself. We were working on a song called "Tell Me It's Only a Nightmare." I never did that song again. Never. Every now and then I run through old tapes and I hear that song and I go, take it right off. And poor Skylar. My mom lives in Belmore, and he had a heart attack, I guess, while he was watching the Mets and I think St. Louis in a playoff. And he had, sitting at his table, they said he had, his glass of wine was empty, and he had some cheese there, and my mother had been calling him to go to bed, come to bed. Sometimes he would fall asleep on the couch. And then she said the dog came in and started to like whimper to her, and that's what she knew was dead. But poor Skylar, I'm driving home like this, and I have to drive Skylar back to Long Beach, and the whole way, he's sitting next to me, and I'm crying like a baby, and he's like looking at me like this, and I'm feeling bad because he's got to feel very, very uncomfortable over the whole thing. Both my mother and father had bad hearts, so it kept me from going to Vietnam. I got drafted at that point. And I was 4F because of I had rheumatic fever and a bad heart. But I think in a lot of ways I'm lucky. I didn't get that notoriety that a lot of people think I should have gotten. But I still enjoy playing, and I don't think a lot of the guys that I know who made millions of dollars and are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame enjoy playing as much as I do. I don't think they do. I think if they have to take a step down, and they'll go, gee, I used to play all the big arenas, and now I'm playing this crummy place. They're totally depressed. I mean, I don't care how crummy the place is, and you've seen this in the place you mentioned, and
Where I don't use the bathroom.
These are just crummy little bars.
Yeah.
But as long as people are there and enjoying themselves, to me it's Madison Square Garden, and I'm having a great time, As long as people are enjoying themselves, because the greatest thing about it is this: I don't sell a steak. You go home, you eat it, and it's delicious. I don't sell a lamp or a couch or a television
It's
set.
not tangible what you
Yeah.
sell. No.
What I just do is I sell 3 hours of escapism, and when people who had a miserable day or a miserable week say to me, I had a great time, this is the best time I had all week, you know? And people go and then that kind of like wears off and they gotta come out and see you again. But you know, it's amazing to me how you manufactured an industry. I did, you know, I had no idea I was gonna do this when I was in college. Went to college, I thought I was gonna be a doctor. So, and I always tell my wife, you know, when I come home, I said, you know, it's amazing the reaction I get from some of these people who are they love me,
Yeah.
you know, and respect me, and that I've made a business out of something where there isn't anything tangible. It's just a good feeling,
That's right.
you know. And I think it's the best job in the world when it's going right.
Right.
You know, it's not to say though, Liz, that like, you know, when we're driving, like we drove 10 hours straight the other day from Pittsburgh to come home. You know, we played a series of prisons.
Yeah.
The other day. Now, what band plays prisons? The Good Rats play prisons. You know, we play for any audience, anywhere.
Right.
You know,
You're the working man's band.
and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, one of the things I wanted to do, you know, like a lot of the old blues players who played around Mississippi and Georgia and in Alabama and Arkansas, and traveled all those places and played and got no recognition other than years later when people said, "Oh yeah, they were great," and then they've been nominated to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Okay, now I submit that the Good Rats are very much like those guys. We get in a beat-up old van. We travel all over the tri-state area. We've gone as far as Nashville, Tennessee, right? And we go and we play our music wherever people have us. Like the song Elbow says, I play my music wherever they'll let me, you know, stand. You know, I'll start playing the song. And I really want to someday start a petition saying that the Good Rats should be named just the way the blues bands were named to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I was thinking, I knew you were headed there because I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I was just looking at your history alone.
We've traveled as many miles as any of those guys.
That's right.
We've played as many places for every kind of audience, and I wanted to start a campaign to do that. And I figured, you know, one of these days I'll do it. I started as a joke, and then I thought about it, and I
You
said,
got me on your petition.
good.
I'm there.
I was more and more serious. I said, well, why not?
Yeah.
You know, after year, and we don't cut corners either. I mean, like, I'll be honest with you, we don't detune the guitar so I can hit the notes and whatever. In fact, all the newer stuff is a little slightly higher keys than the older stuff. When we do a reunion show, my brother always says to me, "Why are you killing yourself?" And I said, "Well, because I can. I'm able to hit these notes. You know, I'm not going to chintz out now. I know a lot of people are disappointed when you go to a band, see a band and the singer singing an octave lower."
Yeah.
You know, or changing the melody, totally
Yeah.
the song to accommodate his voice because he hasn't been blessed. One of the things I've been blessed with, besides a great family, is a throat that like had nothing to do with. I can't take credit for this voice. Today's the first time I saw this video, and I'm a hard guy to please. And I looked at it, and I was almost, you know, how you get embarrassed and you say like, well, how am I going to say this is great, but and this is great, but
Yeah.
right? When this is a creative process.
That's right.
And even driving here, I was trying to figure out how to make sure I do the right thing, but if I see something I don't like, say but, and can we do it? And I watched it the first time through and I went like, there's no buts here. Breakaway pub in Selden, Long Island. It's just a little bitty bar. You know, we were talking about where we were going to do the scene, and Stefan and Jean, they wanted to do it at a more elegant looking place,
Yeah.
and I wanted a typical neighborhood bar, you know, that was kind of oval where we can have the old guys on one side of the bar and the young people on the other side tormenting them. And we play there on a regular basis, and the guy Tony's a good guy, he owns the place. And he said, yeah, you can do it here, and provided the beer, and we had a great time.
Right.
And when I was asking for actors, I specifically asked certain people who had great looks about them. A couple of my friends are business looking, and they were in there, Bill Murs and and Craig Smithline. And then next to them, him, I think there was Rich the Genius, the biker
the
guy.
gentleman with the
The
beard.
big beard, and
What
Vic,
a-
the timekeeper, the other biker guy next to him.
Yeah.
You know, and Joe McColler and Keith Barbanti, and you know, all sorts of guys that were guys who were good Rad fans.
Yes.
You know, 10 years ago, I didn't know these guys. They knew me from coming to gigs, but from working in smaller places, you get to meet them. They
Yeah.
show up, you
The
talk
whole
to them.
intimacy thing, you get
They're
to
all
know.
good people. Yeah, Rick Stanton was in there, and he invited a couple of his friends. And I wanted older guys. Mike Rodden, the guy, he got that old look. It's, you know, he's great. He's been following me since 1968, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, he lives like right around me now too. And these guys all have my home number too. You know,
Right.
I mean that would have never
They're
happened
not
years ago.
fans anymore, as they
Yeah,
are
well, they're
supporters,
fans, they're
really.
friends,
They're friends,
You know,
yeah.
they come over the house. You know, after we did the shooting of Beer, a whole bunch of guys came back to the house. You know, we had got some food, and it was great. And on the other side of the bar, I'd asked my daughter to round up some of her good-looking friends,
Right.
and Rick Stanton's daughter, her name is Chris,
Yeah.
and she got her friends together, and then we had actually some people sitting in the bar that kept saying, "Get the heck out of here!" And then all of a sudden, I said, "I could use you." Some of them were the designated drivers,
Right.
guys just sitting there, you know, and Ham Sandwich was in there too.
Ham sandwich.
Yeah, he's one of the guys. He's in the beer scene also, the beat scene also. He's one of the guys in the pop.
Oh, okay.
So, and I just basically told friends of mine that we're doing this shoot on a particular day, come on down. And we were very happy that so many came down and then just reacted, and they were throwing stuff. The young kids are supposed to be tormenting the
Yes,
older guys.
That's very obvious. There's
You
a
know?
lot of taunting going on.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that.
And then there was beer flying all over the place, and you know, I wanted to get something. I want the beer flies. I said, let's pour the beer on our heads to open up the scene. I thought
Yeah.
that would be like very, very cool. And we had a couple of mishaps, you know, where Steven or Ralph, one of these guys, they miscued the tape.
Yes.
So I was the first guy to do the beer on my face, and it was another song came on, but you just wait for the first musical
Yeah,
note,
you go.
and I went boom like that, and everybody like laughed at me like
It's
it was
in there.
my fault.
I think
Was
that's
that
in there.
Steven?
I think it's in there.
Yeah, well, they laughed at me like it was my fault. I'm like, I'm acting. That was my cue, guys, you know, jumping in.
Yeah.
So, and we're gonna have the first showing of it in, oh, thank you.
Refill.
We're gonna have the first showing of it in, at the Breakaway Pub on the 29th.
Yeah.
We're gonna celebrate my 7th annual 50th birthday, because I know you wanted to ask.
Close their eyes and in a flash, bills and wives got all their cash, and their sons are lazy boys, and their daughters all are whores. Hate the boss but they submit, hate the job but they can't quit. Nuns don't teach them to survive, come and bury them, they've died. Time is something they can't trust, as they watch their bodies rust, leaky hearts and heads of stone. Even dogs get thrown a bone. There's a reason why they hate. Make them hurry up then wait, as they sweat on 95. How can all these dead men die?
We had discussed the video and talked about being very descriptive with each line practically. And Ralph and Steven both agreed that we should try to like stick with each line, because each line painted that picture. And I was watching some other videos, and then pretty much they stay on the same thing as lyrics are changing, you know. We wanted to make more like a mini film here, you know. And so the first scene, close your eyes in the fast, bills and wives got all the cash, and their sons are lazy boys. We thought about a guy coming to the door who was a nice looking guy. So I looked over my son's friends, and I picked up Mike Mirasep to play the nice looking respectable guy. We had another guy that could have done it, who's in one of the other scenes,
Right.
who's got a shaved head, you know, and tattoos.
Yeah.
But we figured, let's go this way. Then I
Don't go
picked,
obvious. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
nice looking guy. Then I picked, I had a variation of a couple of guys I could get to be the dad. Mike is very tall, I wanted the dad to be very short.
Uh-huh.
So we went with our friend Charlie Torty, right? And who, by the way, my son Stephen used to date his daughter.
For real.
Yeah, no longer, but he used to date his daughter. He
Well,
was
I
a
think
fan
it's
that came
life.
down with his daughter, and they started dating. Anyhow, Charlie said he'd be the dad. The guy comes to the door, stands like a foot and a half over him. And the dad is kind of happy that he's a decent looking guy.
Right.
And then my daughter is the one that comes down,
Right.
right? And greets the guy, and the next day he's got his hand on her behind, right? And you know, and we did a whole bunch of takes.
Nightmare.
Now I wasn't. This is the only one of the very few scenes that I didn't actually view while it was going on. I was in the corner of the house, you know, getting out of their way, and Mike grabs her behind as they're walking out, and that all worked out fine. Especially when I just saw the video for the first time, it was great. And then the idea was that right away, the guy would be in the car with her and having sex, and we said, let's have her with boots and her legs up like that. Now, my daughter refused to do the scene. And she said, there's no way I'm going to do this scene. I said, it's acting, Kristen, you know, go ahead, let's do it. So anyhow, that morning, she had picked her up, and she said, I won't do that scene, but I'll do all the things, you know, whatever. And had to buy her nylons and a pantyhose, right? And I said to Ralph, she's not going to do the scene, you know. She's like, got a head like a rock. She's like me when it comes to that. And Ralph, like in 5 minutes, talks to her, and she said she's willing to do the scene in the car. And then we're all shaking the car like this from the other side of it. And you hear her laugh, and she's giggling in the car, like, you know, it's a simulated sex. So we got her to do the scene, and you know, she's kind of a conservative person when it comes to things like that.
Oh, you can tell by that scene.
Has a good job, you know, but she's worried.
Yeah.
She's saying,
Yeah.
I hope people don't see me and go, you know, what kind of a person am I, you know? So we got through that. Then we get into the scene where my friend Joe, another little guy, bald head, you know, and he's like my best friend. He's an auto mechanic. And I said, Joe, you know, we want to have a scene where, like, you're getting up out of bed, the boss is calling you up, you're aggravated, you're throwing this stuff down, and he was like, I thought he was great. It was a star. In fact, we did the scene so many times, and you know this. It was actually in your house, in your bed.
Which is no
He's
longer.
jumping out of that bed with his underwear down the back, and his crack of his ass is showing, putting on the toupee and running out. And we viewed it how many times that night, laughing our asses off. It was so good, you know. And then he does also the scene where he's sitting in traffic, and he does that great look. I mean, I think, to tell you the truth, I think if we were doing a movie, I assembled a cast of characters here
You seriously did.
that really were good character actors and stuff.
Sometimes
and
people
then,
who aren't actors are usually the best actors.
they really did good. They really, and then with the skeletons going by, you know, and then we dressed up the skeletons. Ralph put the cigarette in there, and you know, and he pushed it. I just thought that was just really, really funny. Then we have the beat scene, you know, where the guy's like, well, I needed a muscle-bound guy. And my friend Bill Hanna said, I know this guy who's a New York City police officer. Bill's a police officer also. He said, great body. Somebody recommended me to this girl Missy in it, and she was a beautiful girl, very, very nice girl. I got my friend Ham Sandwich and my friend Bob Tango to play the guys with the potbellies. We were trying to get humongous guys, and they kept bailing out on me. So at the last minute, we only had these two guys who like had a little bit of potbelly, but when I saw the video, they really extended. It looked great. And when the girl comes by, they suck it out, and then only dogs get, even dogs get thrown a bone with the little dog. We were going to use our dog. We have a Boston Terrier, and it's actually a Boston Terrier is part pig and part dog. I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't
They
know
made
that.
it, and that's what when you look at him, it looks like a pig and a dog.
Boston Terrier.
But this guy, he's about 30 pounds. And my friend Bob said, you know, I've got this little dog. It's a miniature Doberman. And he brought the dog there, and that was just a great, great scene. And by the way, Missy has got one of the greatest rear ends I've ever seen.
Let's have another beer. Let's have another beer. Life sucks, so here I cheer. Let's have another beer. Their banging days are gone. Instead they mow the lawn. Oh God, they're dying here. Let's have another beer. Drink, drink up, drink up, drink up.
Okay, we wanted to have at least a band playing, shot at a band playing, so we came into your studios here, and again asked Rick Stanton if his daughter could bring some of the people she works with. You know, they're into the beauty business, they do makeovers and stuff. They've been on Maury Povich show, and my daughter's friends and the band came here, and with me absolutely added the scene. All right, because I want people, again, when they see that, oh, look, a young band, you know, pretty girls. And it was great. There was beer flying all over the place. There were a couple of scenes where actually some of the girls fell. I think my daughter actually fell. I don't know if it made it to video, but fell on stage because the stage was so slippery. And And the guys were having a great time, and beer flying all over, and having all these pretty girls. And I was very, very impressed by the fact that my fans have such pretty children. Their daughters and their friends were like
They really
really
were.
pretty.
It's
I
a
could be
good-looking bunch of
more
girls.
descriptive, but
Well,
they had
it's a mixed audience.
yeah, they were really, really attractive girls. And most of the girls in that video were people who do not know me.
Yeah.
They were friends of the daughter of a friend of mine,
Right.
that kind of a deal. And they were wonderful. They came in, had a good time, and then after the shoot, we drank the rest of the beer, and we had pizza, and we ate. And all I can tell you it was a great, great experience. And that was the first thing I think we shot. The first sequence that we shot. And from then on, I had a pretty good feeling that this was going to be a fun thing to do, and it was going to come out real good. A number of our fans are medical doctors and lawyers. Some of them are in prison. Some of them, I'll be honest, some of them are running major networks.
Sure.
Bruce Gilmer's at VH1 and Jamie Kellner's at the WB. I mean, these are guys who are good Rat fans.
Yeah.
And then we have fans that are working stiffs.
Mm-hmm.
And one guy Mike is a landscaper. And the first time we did the song that he heard it in the club, he came up to me and he said, "I'm a landscaper, and that song you sang, Beer Song, is my life," which I hear from a lot of guys.
Right.
And I said, "You know what?" I said, "I'll tell you what." He was so enthused. I said, "When we do the CD, I'm going to take a picture of you mowing the lawn, and I'll put it on the album,
Right.
CD." That was before we had plans of doing the video.
Right.
Okay. Which, by the way, the plans for the video only came about because you guys were fans and you were into the Rats, and you came down a number of times and would see me and say, "We want to do a video with the band." And I always used to say to Stephen and Ralph, I say, "When I have something that's really ready, that I think is right," and that's when I had called you guys and said, "I got something I think is right." But before this was just going to be a CD, and I was going to put Mike's picture on it mowing the lawn.
Mm-hmm.
And then I called him. I said, "Looks like I can do better than that. We're going to do a video." So they worked it out finally, where he came and got the shot done. These were just people who loved the music and were so enthused about it. I was thanking them for doing it, and they were thanking me for having it.
Right.
So I mean, I think that's the best kind of relationship you can have in the world. When both people leave and say, "I'm very appreciative of the other one's efforts."
When it's time for them to sleep, pray the night lets them repeat every wet dream, every sin. But instead the nightmares win. Let's have another beer.
The beautiful woman at the end of the
Beautiful
scene,
woman at the end of the
the
scene,
nightmare,
puckering her lips.
when he
Yes.
says nightmare.
Yes.
All right, that is, oh God, why am I, Harry Wasserman. Now Harry's a friend of Dennis Perry, our bass player.
Yes.
And Harry's a character. He's like 22 years old, 21 years old. He's a big guy.
You think?
He's a big, big man, all right? But he's got such a young-looking girl face.
Yeah.
And we had talked about, how we were going to do that scene, The Nightmare Wins. And quite honestly, I had thought of maybe asking a couple of our fans who are very big women.
Yes.
And my wife said to me, "If you might embarrass them."
Yeah.
And then I thought about Harry. And I said, "You know what, Harry would be perfect, And Harry is the kind of guy, I didn't know Harry very well. And then when he was here, he's a funny guy. I don't know, Harry should have like 1 million friends.
Yeah.
Because he's a funny guy, he's an intelligent guy. And, you're going to make me a star. And we had Joe Friziello playing the guy having the sexual fantasy.
Right.
And he says he owes me big time. I owe him big time because that was a great scene. He loved it. One of the girls, the blonde, I think was Evil Jen.
I love, you know what, those women they were so, cool.
Yeah.
They really were
And
hot.
and
It was
Michelle,
so cool to look at.
did she have on a red wig?
There was somebody with a just stark white blonde wig. There was somebody on the
That's
left
Evil
with
Jen.
red.
And then it was Missy.
There's another girl.
And then it was Michelle. Michelle had the tattoos.
Right.
And Michelle is like a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
She came over my house after the bar scene, and there were barbells out there now. Rich the Genius is a big, strong guy, although he had some surgery recently. He picks up the thing, he goes like this, curls the thing.
Yeah.
Michelle comes along, goes,
Picks it up like a handbag.
oh, she's a very strong lady.
Let's have another beer. Let's have another beer. Like Saxo here or cheer. Let's have another beer. Their banging days are gone. Instead they mow the lawn. Oh God, they're dying here. Let's have another beer.
All right, this hot car is owned by my friend Joe, the bald guy. We were at his house and we had to get a car in because it's a sexy thing like the sexy girls.
Truly, one of the
And he
girls.
had to peel out like that. We had to make sure we didn't kill anybody in this neighborhood when we did it. And I think it's a '56 Chevy.
Yeah.
And it's for sale if somebody wants to buy it. You know, Joe buys things and sells things. So
He fell in the car.
he's a single, you know, he's a single man right now. Although he's been married twice before and was engaged. Anybody wants to go out with Joe too, by the way, he's always looking for, you know. a nice date.
Apparently, it's not that hard.
Life insurance all paid up, so they fantasize their death. But the wives and kids just sigh, all their drinking bodies cry.
I'm a scaredy cat. I guess to use the terminology of what my mother used to say years ago. All my friends said, how could you get in this coffin? I said, well, first of all, I was acting. And secondly, I was so tired from the gig that we did. Didn't get any sleep at all. And I had to be in Jersey at 11 o'clock that morning. And I actually think I fell asleep in that coffin because my friend said, you were like so still, you know? And I said, I think I might have actually fallen asleep during the shooting.
Getting some REM sleep there.
And it was so funny looking back at that. You know, we got some Al Gore, George Bush mask and whatever, you know, and so you'll see that in the outcuts. I think that was like my favorite scene to be at to do.
Why?
It was, well, because it was in a actual funeral home. We were going to stage it somewhere else, and we got somebody to say we can use our funeral home early in the morning. And everybody, I mean, to ask people to show up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and some of them coming from 2 hours away,
Right.
and to see everybody pull into the parking lot, not one person missed this. Everybody said they were going to be there, showed up, and they were all in a good mood, and we actually had to bring in some beer at the funeral because they were crying in their beer, as you saw some of them doing. And it was just that everybody responded, they showed up, they did their job, and they were laughing. And it is weird kind of looking back and saying, you know, you seeing yourself there. I mean, my wife and my mother will not be happy with this scene at all.
No.
And I was told that, you know.
You had to break a few eggs.
And my friend Billy Hanna, he kept saying to me, well, if you don't want to get in the casket, I'll be the guy. I think he wanted to be the stiff.
Sure.
But it really, I had to be the guy that jumps up and says, only drinking buddies cry.
Right.
I had to be that guy, you know. And because by now in the video, maybe somebody's starting to get the idea, maybe this guy is more than just one of the actors. Maybe he is Ludlow Bushface. See, that's another thing. On this new CD, Dumb, when people get the CD, it's going to say all songs written by and albums produced by Ludlow Bushface. I'm not saying Peppi Marchello, because if I say Peppi Marchello, they're going to go, oh, that's the Good Rats.
Yeah.
And this video right now is primarily for people who know it's the Good Rats.
Yes.
You know? But in the meantime, somebody's going to get that CD and say, let's have another beer by Dumb. And Ludlow Bushface is the guy behind this whole thing. And let them wonder what it's all about.
Let's have another beer. 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 Let's have I'm gonna drink until I die. I don't wanna be like my own man. Oh, goddamn, I in here.
When the whole idea of like that we're gonna have beer flying all over the place came about, I thought, wouldn't it be cool? I mean, I always when I play, have a couple of glasses of my beer put on the side, you know, and the guys have their whatever they want to drink. And so wouldn't it be cool if like you, instead of going just distortion pedal, you know, you can go to a beer pedal, right?
Yeah.
And every time you wanted a beer, it just comes automatically. So I got the sign distortion and then beer.
Right.
And I figured most musicians would get a kick out of that. And then other people would realize that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then we had to do so many takes to get the apparatus to work.
Yes.
Where we had to come in and we'd be going in Gene's eye and in his left ear or whatever. We finally got one that really went right through his mouth. And I just thought that would be, I thought and I still think that's one of the coolest concepts of the whole video, that whole a beer pedal for on stage. And I'm sure there's,
So,
I mean, that's a legal substance, but you know, you could carry this thing to whatever, and you want choice of drugs,
This is
whatever.
or for
Or,
women, chocolate.
You know, I guess you could have an intravenous thing there, you step on it and you get a shot of whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But anyhow, and looking at the video for the first time, again, today's the first time I've seen the video, I just thought that just came out great. I was very, very happy with that. Also, again, at the end with the designated drivers, which,
I love that.
because you know what happened? One of my friends, Rick Stanton, his girlfriend Carol, said, you know, I have 2 young children and they really like this beer song and I think that it might lead them to drinking and so on and so forth. And a couple other people mentioned that to me. I said, you know, I really got to cover myself on this thing. I don't want people to say that I'm out for everybody to get so drunk that they're going to smash the cars. Because I personally hate that, driving home at night from gigs and having drunks all over the road saying this guy could wipe me and my family out. So I think, so we worked it out where, you know, the idea of that, let's have the designated drivers that are sitting there all this time while everybody's having a great time and they're very responsible and going out there. I also loved the going out sections where we had, I mean, first of all, to hang out with the Good Rats years ago, you not only had to be white, but you probably had to be Italian, all right? And you mentioned it to me. You said, Peppi, I don't see any people of color in the video. And it has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that this is our circle of friends. So we spoke about it, and Ralph and Steven, we both said, why don't, at the end, go out and get Chinese and black and Hispanic and whatever you can, because these are all people who love to drink beer and they're going to have a good time and stuff. Today's the first time I saw it, and I loved it.
You did.
I loved it. I mean, I think it really was the final thing. And what I like about the ending also is that it's a replay of the cast of characters.
Sure.
That,
It's
you
almost
know,
rolling credits, right?
oh yeah,
It's
it is. It's rolling the credits.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's,
Credit
for
roll.
me it worked, because now I'm thinking about what they did in the video, and I hope that everybody who sees the video, that outro
Yeah.
will lead them to like, oh yeah, that was that scene where the guy did this and did that. I personally think that you guys did a great job. I mean, and I want this on tape. I really, really appreciate it. You know, you guys are doing something that is part of what I was talking about before with fans who was saying to me, what can we do to help you out? Let's do something that we can do to help you out. And I appreciate it. Thank you, Echo. This is America, folks. You sit back with your pretzels and your beer, and you just enjoy yourself.
He's just so fast.
That's good. I think we're done.